folks, welcome back to this channel. If you are new here, then my name is Kubeir Kamal. I'm an IRCC licensed immigration consultant, and this channel is all about Canadian immigration processes, updates, news, things you should do and things you definitely should not. Well then, as I said, if you are new here, then you may want to consider subscribing by smashing that subscribe button, because we do not want you to miss these important updates just like today's video. Well, today's video is about an internal memorandum of IRCC that was shared between the Deputy Minister and the Associate Deputy Minister with regards to stopping the finalization of express entry applications of outlanders, of people who are outside Canada. This document is now being widely shared on several social media platforms, Twitter, WhatsApp groups, etc. It was obtained through ATIP notes, access to information privacy notes. Forget about the conspiracy theories that IRCC has just released it because they want to distract people from any attention. It's not so. It's an internal memo. IRCC has no business releasing or leaking their memos. Let's head over to this memo to understand what it is, and then we'll come and break it down. Okay, this is a memorandum to the Deputy Minister. It was issued by the Associate Deputy Minister of IRCC, who also takes care of the operations branch, and the purpose of this memorandum is to seek approval to pause the final decisions on the economic class permanent residence applications for clients outside of Canada for an initial period of 90 days. Now, this memorandum was issued 3rd of March 2021, and therefore they are requesting for the 90 days period, which is until the end of May 2021. Mind you, this is an old document. This is almost 6 months old, so the current conditions do not apply to this. Obviously, you cannot have access to the current information. This was, as I said, received through the ATIP notes. So keep in mind that this is a backdated document. IRCC's August 2020 decision to continue finalizing economic class cases overseas in anticipation of potential late 2020 or early 2021 border restriction changes has led to significant challenges for CBSA. So what IRCC was thinking in August 2020 was that maybe the border restrictions will be eased, so they continued to process the PPRs, they continued to finalize the applications, which then created challenges for CBSA and Transport Canada, as some clients attempted to travel to Canada despite not being exempt under the public health OICs. OICs stands for Order in Council. So Order in Council was the one which issued the restrictions, which basically said that if your COPR, if your PR visa was issued after the 18th of March, then you cannot travel to Canada. However, people who did receive it, lots of them did travel to Canada. A lot of them actually did get into a lot of trouble as well. Check my this video, and we were talking about the fact that do not travel, you will get into trouble. A lot of people did get into trouble for that. Nobody was deported, nobody was sent back, because eventually CBSA and IRCC did, after some investigation and discussion, did allow them, but it was very panic-filled days for a lot of applicants at that point of time. To continue with the memorandum, to date, CBSA reports having seen more than 300 such cases and have flagged that the volume continues to grow. Obviously a concern. As a result, they have asked IRCC. Mind you, this is where they say CBSA has asked IRCC to stop issuing final decisions to clients who do not meet the current OIC, Order in Council, entry exemption. So there you go. CBSA asked IRCC, don't issue this PPRs, because by them, people are just continuing to travel. They are not following the restrictions. They're not following the requirements. I don't know why they did not take a very forceful step and return some people, because had they done that, the word would have spread around. People would have been more scared. They wouldn't have traveled. But you know, Canada being Canada, they were being nice people. They sort of, did allow them. Since now you're in Canada, you are permanent residents, we will allow you. And obviously that was misunderstood. People thought that you could continue flouting the regulations. Eventually somebody had to put the foot down. So CBSA then asked IRCC to stop issuing PPRs. There are upwards of 15,000 cases finalized with no right of entry, which basically means there are 15,000 applications which have been finalized. PPRs are not issued under the OICs, as well as an additional 7,500 cases where processing is at an advanced stage and the department must finalize and issue documents. IRCC is in possession of clients' passports. The number will continue to grow unless officers are instructed to stop finalizing applications. Now, do you see, that was another very big concern. The visa offices were closed. People had still received PPRs. They had sent their passports. Now these passports were being held by IRCC. They were not stamping. They were not finalizing. They didn't know what to do. So a decision had to be made, and therefore this memo. In light of continuing travel restrictions affecting most economic class clients residing overseas, we recommend that department continues to process. So they will continue to process the application, but stop short of finalizing these applications for at least 90 days. Pausing finalization and issuance of travel documents will avoid increasing the number of potential unlawful arrivals, as well as to prevent the expiry of certain documents after they have been issued to the clients. The validity of medical, security and passports will not be paused. Well, what they're trying to say is that if they will continue to issue PPRs, people will continue to travel, they will continue to flout the travel restrictions, and they want to just avoid that situation. And also, if they were to issue the PPRs, they were to issue the COPRs, they will eventually expire, and then they will have to reissue them, extend them, renew them, causing more work for IRCC, and therefore the best decision taken was to stop finalizing the applications at this point of time. And the last point is OPPB is developing a methodology to report on this new close to final caseload that will support higher production and admissions when border restrictions are lifted. OPPB stands for Operation Planning and Performance Branch. This is a branch of IRCC which is involved in data analytics. And they were then developing a methodology to sort of, figure out how they're going to process these applications, because at the end of the day, they are aware that these are a lot of new immigrants who will then add to the immigration targets for this year. Even with the cases being close to final within the 90 days, the expiry of admissibility requirements may require further efforts to finalize. IPG, CEB and Communications are developing a plan to inform clients that IRCC will not finalize outside Canada PR application for the next 90 days and will request that they will not communicate with IRCC for a status update. IPG stands for Immigration Program Guidance Branch. CEB stands for Client Experience Branch. These are also the branch of the Operations Department. They obviously were supposed to draft some plan, but that plan never saw the light of the day, because as you and I know, we never ever heard of any such message or communication from IRCC that they're going to stop doing this for the time being. We never heard of it, right? But going back here, it talks about the applications that are close to final within the 90 days of expiry of admissibility will require these efforts, will require additional efforts to finalize the application, because the admissibility checks for criminality, medicals, security, passports will still have to be conducted in order to finalize the applications. This was the memorandum that has been discussed, or rather that is being discussed at this point of time amongst so many people. And as I said, there is a lot of this conspiracy theory which is going on that IRCC has just released it to distract. IRCC has no business distracting. This has, as I said, been accessed through ATIP notes. If IRCC had to sort of, distract, they will just keep quiet about it, as they have been doing for such a long time. This document was issued on the 4th of March and it was valid till the month of May, end of May. It is my assumption that obviously at that point of time, the travel restrictions are still in place and therefore it was possibly extended for 90 more days, bringing the validity of this memorandum to probably end of August. Since in the month of June, 21st of June, all COPR holders were allowed to travel to Canada. It is my assumptions that IRCC must have finally gone back and cancelled this memorandum, this policy, and have said, okay, let's finalize the applications. As I said, it's my assumption. This won't happen overnight. IRCC has a huge international network of visa offices, and obviously this all has to trickle down. As they have mentioned, they will still need to conduct your criminality checks, your medical checks, your security checks, and also to check if your passports are still valid. It won't happen overnight. In the normal circumstances, in an application processing time, it takes anywhere from 60 to 120 days to complete this part of the process. IRCC has to coordinate with different agencies like RCMP, CSIS, CBSA, medical authorities to finalize all their application process. Obviously, it's going to take a bit of time. Even if the visa offices have now started taking action on it, you will only start seeing the trickle coming through. As we've been talking about it, that I expect the actual PPRs to start flowing in probably by the fourth quarter. That is my expectation. Probably towards the end of third quarter, let's say September, October is when I start seeing a lot of applications going through, but most of them in the fourth quarter. It would start with the trickle. You're not going to get lots of PPRs happening overnight. It will start with the trickle and then probably go through. And then stemming from the same logic, I also assume that this is one of the big reasons that they're holding back on the FSW draws, because obviously if they were still holding the FSW draws, they would still have to continue processing the applications. It would only continue to add to the backlog and inventory that they already have, which basically means that they wanted to put a hold onto it. So if they were holding on to the finalization of applications, it only makes sense they were also holding back on the federal skilled worker draws, so that they don't have to then process and finalize or hold back on finalizing the applications. Now that the border restrictions have eased out, and I'm hoping very soon we start seeing the release of PPRs, therefore the expectation is very, very strong. At least I feel very, very hopeful and strong that federal skilled worker draws is also just around the corner. I won't belittle you. I know you have been waiting anxiously for this whole process to happen. I know there are so many of you whose COPRs have expired, and obviously this also ties in with the same factor. If your COPRs had expired and now when they had to issue new ones, they were holding back on that, they would again still have to go through the same process of checking through your criminality, security, medicals, and then issue your COPRs again. So all of this ties in. Actually, this memorandum makes a lot of things clearer. There is an understanding that IRCC was aware what they were doing in terms of holding back the applications. Now that the travel restrictions are no longer there, the expectation is with this would be amended. This would have now been released. Keep in mind, again, this was end of May. The travel restrictions were still there, so they would have extended it, and we would only now start seeing the PPRs coming through. I know a lot of you have been waiting patiently. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel for you. I really, really feel for you. I know how frustrated you might be. Just have a little bit more patience. My hopes, prayers, and best wishes are with you. I know this is going to turn the corner very soon, and we will start seeing a lot of your PPRs. When you do get your PPR, do come back to our Facebook group. Do share the news with us. We will all want to celebrate. We'll all want to be part of your happy moments and wish you all the best. And with that, this is the end of the video. If you still haven't subscribed to the channel, you definitely should. If you haven't checked our Instagram page, then hop in there, take a look at it, and follow us on Instagram. Stay safe, take care, and I shall see you next time.